Spectre begins in Mexico City during the vibrant Day of the Dead festival. Crowds fill the streets in colorful costumes and skull masks while a parade moves through the city. Hidden among the celebration is James Bond, who is on a secret mission that was not authorized by his superiors. He tracks a criminal named Marco Chiara to a hotel room, where Chiara is meeting other terrorists and discussing a bombing plot. Bond plants explosives in the building and follows Chiara across the rooftops after the bomb detonates. The chase ends inside a helicopter that is performing aerial stunts above the massive crowd. A brutal fight takes place inside the unstable aircraft as it spins wildly in the air. Bond manages to kill Chiara, regains control of the helicopter just before it crashes into the crowd, and lands it safely. Before leaving, he takes a mysterious ring from Chiara's finger, engraved with a strange octopus symbol. News of the reckless mission reaches London, where Gareth Mallory, known as M, confronts Bond. The previous M had died during the events of Skyfall, and before her death she had secretly instructed Bond to assassinate Chiara and uncover the organization behind him. However, the new head of the Center for National Security, Max Denby known as C, argues that the traditional 00 program is outdated. He promotes a global intelligence sharing initiative called 9 Eyes, which will connect surveillance agencies from 9 countries and rely on mass data collection instead of field agents. C plans to shut down the 00 section within days, putting Bond's career at risk. Ignoring orders to stand down, Bond travels to Rome to attend Chiara's funeral. There he meets Chiara's widow, Lucia, who reveals that her husband was part of a powerful secret criminal organization and that Bond is now marked for death. Bond saves her from assassins and gains information about a secret meeting that will take place that night. He infiltrates the meeting, which is attended by high-ranking criminals from around the world. The leader of the organization enters an imposing and calm man named Franz Overhauser, who now calls himself Ernst Stavro Blofeld. Blofeld immediately recognizes Bond and addresses him by name, exposing his presence. Bond narrowly escapes after a car chase through Rome, pursued by the organization's top assassin, Mr. Hinks. Back in London, Moneypenny informs Bond that she has located Mr. White, a former member of the criminal organization known as Quantum. Bond travels to a remote cabin in Austria, where he finds Mr. White dying from thallium poisoning, administered by Blofeld as punishment for betrayal. White reveals that the larger organization is called Spectre and that it infiltrates governments and intelligence agencies worldwide. Before killing himself, White asks Bond to protect his daughter, Dr. Madeleine Swan, who can lead Bond to an important contact named Ella Americaine. Bond finds Madeleine at a clinic in the Austrian Alps, but they are attacked by Mr. Hinks and Spectre operatives. After a dramatic plane chase through the mountains, Bond rescues Madeleine. Reluctantly, she agrees to help him and leads him to Ella Americaine, who turns out to be Mr. White's former associate. However, they discover that he has been murdered, leaving behind a clue that directs them to Tangier, Morocco. In Tangier, Bond and Madeleine uncover a hidden room containing a secret map. The map leads them into the Sahara Desert, where they find an abandoned meteor crater that hides a massive Spectre facility. They are captured and brought before Blofeld. In a chilling confrontation, Blofeld reveals his personal connection to Bond. Years earlier, after Bond was orphaned, he lived with Oberhauser's family. Blofeld, jealous of the attention Bond received from his father, staged his own death and murdered his father. He then built Spectre, orchestrating global chaos and even manipulating the villains of Bond's previous missions, Ellie Schiffer, Dominic Green, and Raoul Silva, making them all part of his network. Blofeld claims that all of Bond's suffering was carefully designed as an act of revenge. Blofeld subjects Bond to psychological torture, attempting to destroy his memories and identity by drilling into his brain. However, Bond manages to escape with Madeleine's help. They destroy the desert base in a massive explosion and flee. Meanwhile in London, C pushes forward with the launch of 9 Eyes despite objections from M, Q, and Moneypenny. They discover that C is secretly working with Spectre and that 9 Eyes will give Blofeld access to unprecedented global surveillance power. M confronts C in the new MI6 building, which is scheduled for demolition. C attempts to escape but dies when he falls down an elevator shaft. Bond and Madeleine return to London to confront Blofeld, who has set a final trap in the abandoned MI6 headquarters. Blofeld captures Madeleine and forces Bond to choose between saving her and killing him. Bond rescues Madeleine and shoots down Blofeld's helicopter, causing it to crash on Westminster Bridge. Though injured, Blofeld survives and is arrested by M. James Bond tracks down Mr. White, the former member of the shadowy criminal network. White is gravely ill from thallium poisoning, slowly dying because he defied the organization's leader. Bond offers him a deal, reveal the mastermind's location, and Bond will protect his daughter. At first, White refuses, even pulling a gun on Bond. But realizing he has no future and wanting to save his child, he finally gives Bond the location of his daughter, Dr. Madeleine Swan, who works at a remote clinic in the Austrian Alps. After sharing this information, White takes his own life, unable to live with his guilt and betrayal. Bond finds a photograph of Madeleine among White's belongings, confirming his next destination. Meanwhile in London, the political situation grows tense. C, the ambitious head of the new intelligence initiative, proudly shows M the newly constructed intelligence headquarters. Funded partly by private companies, the building symbolizes a new era of digital surveillance. C explains that the future of national security lies in global data sharing, not field agents. The 9 Eyes program will connect intelligence agencies worldwide, allowing unprecedented monitoring of global communications. M is skeptical, but political pressure is mounting, and the 00 program is on the verge of being shut down. Bond travels to the Alpine clinic and meets Dr. Madeleine Swan. She is intelligent, composed, and immediately distrustful of him. She knows about her father's past and resents the world of espionage that destroyed her childhood. Their meeting is interrupted when Mr. Hinks, a ruthless assassin working for the organization, arrives with armed men to kidnap Madeline. Bond commandeers a small plane and pursues the convoy in a dramatic chase across snowy mountains. Despite gunfire damaging the aircraft, Bond manages to crash land strategically, destroying the convoy and rescuing Madeline. Mr. Hinks survives but is temporarily stopped. Madeline is furious, blaming Bond for bringing violence into her life. At a hotel, Bond explains the existence of the secret organization and shows her the ring bearing the octopus symbol. In London, Q analyzes the ring and uncovers a network connecting several criminals from Bond's past missions, including Ellie Chiffer, Dominic Green, and Raul Silva. All were part of the same hidden organization. Madeline finally reveals the name her father once mentioned, Spectre. As news reports show a devastating terrorist attack in Cape Town, political momentum shifts in favor of the Nine Eyes program. With more nations voting to join, C gains power and prepares to officially shut down the 00 section. M, Q, and Moneypenny secretly work to support Bond from behind the scenes. Bond and Madeline follow clues left by Mr. White to Tangier, Morocco. There, in a hidden room behind a hotel wall, they discover a secret map pointing to a remote location in the Sahara Desert. The coordinates lead them to a massive hidden facility built inside a meteor crater. They are captured upon arrival and brought before the organization's leader, Franz Oberhauser, who now calls himself Ernst Stavro Blofeld. Blofeld calmly reveals his history with Bond. Years ago, after Bond's parents died, he lived with the Oberhauser family. Blofeld's father cared deeply for Bond, creating jealousy in his own son. Consumed by resentment, Blofeld murdered his father and faked his own death. He later built Spectre into a global criminal empire, orchestrating chaos and manipulating events from behind the scenes, including the tragedies Bond experienced in previous missions. Blofeld claims that Bond's pain was carefully designed as personal revenge. Blofeld tortures Bond by drilling into his brain, targeting areas responsible for memory and recognition. Madeline watches helplessly as Bond resists psychological destruction. Using a hidden explosive device provided earlier by Q, Bond signals Madeline, who throws it toward Blofeld. The explosion allows them to escape. They flee the base, fighting guards, and triggering a massive chain reaction that destroys the entire desert facility. Bond pilots a helicopter to safety as the crater collapses in flames. Back in London, the Nine Eyes program is about to go live. Q infiltrates the system to shut it down, discovering that C is secretly collaborating with Spectre. The new surveillance network would give Blofeld global access to intelligence data. M confronts C inside the old MI6 building, which is scheduled for demolition and still bears damage from Silva's previous attack. C attempts to activate the program manually but is stopped when Q locks him out of the system. During a struggle, C falls down an elevator shaft to his death. Bond returns to London for a final confrontation. Blofeld has kidnapped Madeline and lures Bond into the abandoned MI6 headquarters, now rigged with explosives. The building is filled with photographs and reminders of Bond's past losses, meant to psychologically torment him. Blofeld forces Bond to choose between killing him or saving Madeline. Bond chooses Madeline, proving he values love over revenge. After rescuing her, Bond pursues Blofeld by car and then by boat along the Thames. Blofeld escapes in a helicopter, firing at Bond. In a precise shot, Bond disables the helicopter's engine, causing it to crash onto Westminster Bridge. Though injured, Blofeld survives. Bond holds him at gunpoint, with the chance to end his enemy's life. Instead, he lowers the weapon. Refusing to become what Blofeld wants him to be, Bond spares him. MI6 agents arrive and arrest Blofeld, finally dismantling Spectre's leadership. With the surveillance program shut down and the conspiracy exposed, Bond makes a life-changing decision. He retrieves his repaired Aston Martin and tells M that he is leaving the service. For the first time, he chooses a future beyond duty and violence. Driving away with Madeline, Bond steps into an uncertain but hopeful new chapter, leaving behind the shadows of his past. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.